Blitz is a fantastic online strategy game full of different tanks and playstyles, but there is at least one feature about the game that can be pretty annoying for a lot of people, and that is the fact that you only have one life. Now, a lot of online games these days give you a lot of different lives, which allows you to really just keep playing a game till the very end, but of course, Blitz isn't like that. So really you only have one life, but the same goes for the enemy as well, and this has a few advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is if you do end up killing an enemy, they're done. You don't need to worry about them at all for the rest of the game, unless of course it's a fun mode, but well, that's a little bit aside the subject. But in a normal game, when you kill someone, you don't have to worry about them for the rest of the game. They're done, and all they can do is sit there or exit and enter a completely different game, so you don't need to worry about them whatsoever. But the same goes for you as well. If you sit there or you just don't do very well and you die super early, or even if you don't die early, you just die without having done much, of course, you're dead for the rest of the game, which means you aren't really able to help your teammate at all. Now, of course, there are different techniques we can employ to kind of make ourselves last longer, or really make ourselves last longer in the game without dying. But sometimes, as you can see here, there's no hope. You're just going to die. For example, in this position that I have unfortunately gotten myself into here, not much I could have done to avoid it. But this is a case that I would say there's not really any escape from. You can see if I just play real quick here, that I am in a very bad position. The likelihood of being able to survive against this 3 some odd tanks that are on me is not very good. In fact, the chances of living through this are just about 0 unless the enemy just goes ahead and just gives up and lets you win. So really, in this case, there is not much hope whatsoever except for dying, unfortunately. But even though there is a case like this you may find yourself in, you can still do a little bit that can actually help your teammates or just help you with your damage, even though the situation may not be too stellar. So what I have done here, of course, is I've gotten myself in this wonderful predicament. And if we take a look here and analyze this a little bit deeper, you can see, first of all, we've got the T-77, and he's, of course, got some pretty crazy tunnel vision, has pretty much since the beginning of the game, and of course he wants to get some damage off of me. Of course we have the Progetto 46 over here, which is just, I'd say mid-range sniping. He's not really moving in too close, but he's definitely getting some shots off on me just because of my position. And then as well we have this Waffle over here, which, while he's not really shooting at me, he's definitely a threat, and his gun is definitely big enough to take a pretty sizable chunk out of me, and I definitely don't want to be hit by him. So in either case, the likelihood is that I am definitely going to die, but of course there are still some things that I can do. I'm not just going to sit there and give up. It's never helpful and never helps your team in any way, but what you'll notice here is that in these kinds of positions, the things that you will need to be doing is figuring out which tank to focus. Obviously, if you're going to die, you might as well at least try to take out one tank with you, and that's kind of what I'm doing with this Waffle over here. So let me go ahead and just play it again. You'll see that I focused the Waffle there a bit, and now I'm getting hit from both sides, from the T-77 and the Progetto. But of course, I'm low enough hit points at this point that the Waffle could clear me, so I really want to focus on him. Not really sure why he didn't shoot there. I think maybe he wasn't reloaded. Either way, we did end up clearing him, which is fantastic. Now, of course, our hit point pool is pretty pathetic, but at least we are alive and we took out one tank for our death. Now, I did get some pretty lucky bounces from the T-77. Now that sometimes comes into play, that's more just has to do with the tank I'm playing. But either way, if you do get those lucky bounces, take use of them, because I would have easily been dead by now, but the fact that I'm not means I could theoretically take out one of these other 2 tanks. For example, you got the Progetto that's running away, so I don't need to worry about him too much, especially considering he's the higher hit point of the 2 enemies. However, this T-77 Cannonball is looking like a pretty easy target, or relatively easy, because he did recently just dump his whole clip onto me, so I know he's got at least a few more seconds on his reload, and you'll notice that his hit points are scarily low. In fact, I could probably even clear him with APCR, which is actually what I'm about to do. So my armor's pretty good, so in the worst case, if he is somehow reloaded, I can actually stay in his face a little bit, and he could theoretically bounce one. And with APCR, I should be able to hit into his turret, which, if you look there, you can see he's already been hit quite a few times, probably by me or possibly by someone else as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and try to attack him. Now that Progetto over there decided that no, he was going to come back for me, so he did get one shot onto me. Now I have 97 hit points, which is not fantastic to say the least. However, it's not game over yet because now that I have recently killed this T-77, I actually have given myself some hard cover. Now again, likelihood of dying, basically 100%, but might as well try to get at least one more shot into this Progetto, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull forward. You can see here I'm using that dead T-77 as a little bit of cover. Now I'm in a really bad position because side scraping is basically impossible. I get one more shot off onto the Progetto, and he does unfortunately clear me, but that was still one extra shot of damage. Now, if you take a look at the damage counter in the upper left-hand corner, you can see we still did 3,029 damage, which is actually pretty decent. Granted, it was a fairly high damage per minute tank that I was in, but we still only died in about 2 minutes and 20 seconds or so. That's fast. We still managed to clear out 2 tanks in that time and deal just over 3,000 damage, even though we did end up dying. So our death was not a complete loss. We were still able to do a lot. Unfortunately, this still ended up being a loss. It just wasn't quite enough for our teammates to work off of. We were still down quite a few tanks. But either way, the fact that we were able to do everything that we could to give our team the best possible chance, even if it was still a loss, is definitely something to be happy about. So obviously not every game is going to be exactly perfect, as we all know. In some cases you may do this or something similar to this and you may still die, but don't worry about it, because as long as you continue to make these kinds of plays, regardless of whether you think you're going to live or not, and just doing the absolute most you can with your single life, the much better a lot of your games will go. And in some cases, it will actually win the game, even if you yourself didn't actually live to see it, or you might have seen it, but you certainly weren't playing till the end of the game. But there you go. That is how you can, or at least some ways that you can make the most out of your life, even in a bad situation where you know you're not going to live through it, and just give your team the best possible chance of winning. And so with that, I hope y'all enjoyed, and as always, have fun, good luck, and happy tanking.